today. And when I was thinking about why I wanted to have them come do this, first of all, Jess is awesome to work with. And I kind of feel like she's my sister. So that kind of makes Tim my dad? Something like that? I don't know. We'll let them figure that out. All right. Well, with that, here they are, Tim and Jess.
All right, hey everybody! Happy birthday! This is so cool. So Jess and I are.
Try, ready?
Are you okay there? Yeah, she's figuring out our button. So it's hard to follow the mother-son act that we just saw. I can't take Chris, but father-daughter. Here, I'll give her a hug, show you I do love her. We're going to try to do the best we can in the time that we have with you to celebrate tonight. I will tell you, we are absolutely honored to be part of this 50th celebration. Thanks from the team, the committee, for inviting us to do this. And we're going to tell you a little bit about our journey as mathematics teachers, as father and daughter along the way. So we're going to start with those memories. We have note cards in case we forget what to do, but we're hoping the pictures will remind us. All right, so you ready, Jess?
Yes.
Here we go.
So I have a question.
Sure.
So NCSM started in 1968, right?
Correct.
Okay. And I believe you started teaching actually pretty close to them.
Correct.
Which was a really long time ago. So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
It might be hard. I don't know if you'll remember.
Right.
But what was it actually like when you first started teaching?
Well, thanks, Jess. Yeah, I know it was a long time ago. There I am, my first year of teaching. Yes. 1973 in a little town in Illinois where I met her mother, and eventually things happened. But you know, just my era was chalk. You knew you had a great day if your pants would be filled with chalk lines because of using all the chalk. I was very high tech. I used colored chalk actually back then. But and my kids sat in rows because that's what I knew. But I got to tell you, for me, I realized teaching middle school and high school mathematics, I didn't know enough math to be a good teacher. Let me give you one example. I once told my third-hour students that the sine of 0 is 1 and the cosine of 0 is 0. And which, for those of you that don't know, that's wrong. And, but I realized about halfway through the lesson, but I thought I confused my kids, so I just taught it wrong for the whole rest of the lesson. Then later in the day, I taught the same class again, so I taught them wrong also because I knew they had friends from the morning session. So at that point, your mom and I went back to grad school to get a degree in mathematics and applied math, just so I could be a better middle school and high school math teacher. And that took us kind of through the early 80s.
Perfect. So you get to the early 80s.
Yeah.
And then there was something I feel like that was important in your life in 1982.
Yeah, 1982.
What was that?
Well, something that was really important in my life was my daughter was born. Yeah, there you go. And little could I have imagined at that moment right there that child would become a mathematics teacher.
I just have to say something.
Yeah.
You have a lot of facial hair going on.
Yeah, well, this is what happens when you have a 50th anniversary of something.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, when you've been around long enough.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate
What
the
else
support.
happened
I thought the glasses were pretty cool too.
They are.
But, so you're asking me something else?
Yeah, what else happened in the 80s?
Well, there was actually, for me, kind of a groundbreaking document. It was called an Agenda for Action. How many of you remember an Agenda for Action? Yeah, it was a little paperback that came out from NCTM, and it called us to teach differently, to think about student learning, to think about student engagement, and to think about wearing really cool ties that had math stuff on them. But that kind of carried me through a lot of my work in the 80s and 90s. And kind of forward into the early 2000s, and then what happened?
Perfect.
So, Jess, in 2004, actually, you graduated from college.
Yeah.
And about 2 years before you graduated, you called me up and you said, "Dad, I am not you. I don't want to be like you." But you said to me, "I'm not going to be a business major anymore. I'm going to be a math major." and I'm doing this. But I didn't show that outwardly. I was just like, oh, that's nice, just good, I'm glad. But, so in the spring of 2004, you were student teaching. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like?
Yeah, so, yeah, I was very excited to actually become a math teacher, but I definitely wanted to make it my own choice and not like, you know, because your family's doing it, that's why you do it, right? But yeah, I started student teaching in spring of 2004, and when I walked into my cooperating teacher's classroom, it was a very traditional classroom. And it was all rows, and there were really kind of just all rows, and she did direct instruction. And so here I am walking in, excited to be a new teacher, feeling no pressure at all for being your daughter and now pursuing a teaching career. Also they were using your book at the time, so that was like, oh yeah, that's my dad. And actually, I think the photo that was in that book is closely resembles that photo in the last slide with the curly hair and the beard and all that. Anyway, so I remember walking in and thinking, okay, I want to do something different. What's going to happen? What will my teacher do my cooperating teacher do if I want to put kids in groups of 4? Like, what's going to happen? And so once I kind of got the full control and you actually get to teach all the time in all the classes, I remember we were doing a geometry unit, and I wanted to do something creative on surface area of a cone, like just to get kids excited about it instead of it just being about the formula. So I remember I'm kind of at the beginning of my lesson, and kids are walking in, and I have a birthday hat on my head. So I'm standing at the front of the room greeting kids with this birthday hat. These are 8th graders looking at me like, who is this girl? And I also looked, I think, like I was 12. So I actually wore glasses to make myself feel like I looked older and not their age. And anyway, the part I remember, the sad part actually about what I remember about that moment is my cooperating teacher walked in right as I was starting this lesson and just started laughing. At me, actually, in the back of the room. And so I remember that vividly, and that is a 100% true story. I remember that thinking, I'm just grateful that I have mentors and leaders around me to guide me in my own journey as a teacher. Because if I wouldn't have had that, I think that's what NCSM is all about.
And actually, that spring, when she was student teacher, I brought her to the NCSM and NCTM meetings. It was her first time ever at the NCSM meeting, even though she was a first-year teacher.
San Antonio.
Yeah,
I remember.
That's right.
So, but I think about new teachers and what they might not have access to, and so an organization like NCSM or supporting coaches and supporting leaders so that doesn't happen for new teachers and even cooperating teachers that are sitting and working with students as they're learning to become teachers. So that is what I remember about starting teaching. What do you remember?
Well, okay, so this is a true story. Jess finally has the courage to call me and say, Dad, you know, would you, she was student teaching about 40 miles away from where I worked, and said, I'm ready for you to come watch me teach. And she'd been going at it for about 12 weeks. So I'm driving down there, and I'm thinking like, she knows this, and I'm thinking like, well, what if she's no good? Like, what if she doesn't have it? What if she's not supposed to be a math teacher? And then I'm like, crap, I'm gonna have to tell her, but she's my daughter, I'm gonna have to just be honest with her. And then I'm like, I'm not paying for another 4 years of school. And I want to tell you, as a dad, this was really cool, Jess. I walked in, I sat in the back of your room, kids were in teams of 4, you were doing your thing, you were getting them engaged. I sat back there, I was like, oh, thank goodness she has it. You had joined the right profession. And I was just like, yes, you know, quietly again, doing the good, you know. And that was really an important moment. Now, the next slide we're going to show you has nothing to do with what we had to say tonight. We just wanted to show you when Jess got married. But what we wanted to tell you was, we won a 3rd grade, when she was in 3rd grade, we won the daddy-daughter dance contest at the local park district. So, yeah, that really had nothing to do with our story. So Jess, I just want to ask you if you could, because I think one of the things that really significantly changed in my witnessing of your teaching was this sort of natural embrace that you had for the use of technology in your teaching, especially in your middle school with your 8th grade teacher team that you see up here that you start out with. Why do you think that was? Like, why did you find technology as a useful tool?
Well, I fortunately was in a district where they were continuing to innovate and continue to try new things, and I think for me, it became about student engagement. So it became about, at that time, it was just how can I use technology as a way to enhance what I'm currently doing. It wasn't I wasn't at a place where I was completely redoing my instruction and using technology or tech tools to do that, but it was enhancing. So even something like a document camera, being able to show student work immediately that day in class without having to make a transparency or something like that was awesome. But you know, the voting tools, all those things, and I think what I found was it just got kids more involved, whether it was friendly competition or whatever that looked like. And I think it actually started to create conversations for teams. So our teacher teams would come together and we were talking through like, how are you using the tools in class? And it became more about how is the tool supporting instruction and trying to learn what that meant versus just, hey, I'm using this cool tool, and that's it. It wasn't really enhancing what we were doing or supporting the learning.
I think one thing too that I really liked, in the next picture you'll see this, so then you became principal of the junior high that you actually were a math teacher in. And you know, we as an organization are all the time talking about we got to talk to the principals, we got to get the principals involved, we got to do, and then I'm like, all right, we got a principal. So you know, I know you did a lot of, you know, it was interesting to hear Chris talk about it's one thing to have iPads and one-on-one, but it's another thing to use it in the service of instruction. So what happened in your school?
So the whole iPad, we ended up becoming a one-to-one iPad school and actually part of Apple's Distinguished Program, and part of that was actually a grassroots teachers effort. So as a leader, I was listening to my teachers saying, hey, we want more things happening for kids, and by having devices in every child's hand, that will provide more. But then it became, okay, but how do we make sure it's not just then a cool tool that kids have sitting on their desks, it's just substituting what we're currently doing. How do you make it transform education, and how do you help it transform learning? And so I think that was our goal. We don't always get there, but we try. And I think as a leader, supporting those teachers, it was about encouraging risk-taking.
Cool.
And in here, this is actually in a science classroom. Kids were doing, it was changing the tasks, changing the message, changing kind of the whole focus of instead of it just being, here's my lesson, you do, and here's some examples, you try them. Some very direct instruction. It was changing the tasks and getting more engagement from kids in the conversation. And the iPads helped that too. So
cool.
Online and in class. So now, we're 2017.
It's 2017. Yeah, you can't see our year. But it's 2017.
Sorry.
So this is Jess and I. We're both from Chicago. It's Chicago, sort of Chicago area. Shout out to Illinois. Yeah, okay, all right. Thank you.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
What happened in 2017?
Well, something really cool happened in 2017, which we probably won't get to see. But you and I actually spent an entire year writing a book together. And what's really cool about that is it was like we had a little baby or something.
Yeah. Oh wait.
Oh, something else happened in 2017.
You kind of missed it.
Oh, sorry. We actually had our first granddaughter in 2017, thanks to Jessica.
Yes.
And that is Abigail Rose. And what's our hope for her?
So learning her numbers early. So had to get it in right away.
Yeah.
Well, my question is, what do you think the next 50 years will look like for her?
Well, you know, I listened to Chris talk so eloquently about the need for social justice, and I think if I had one hope for Abigail is that she will experience not just mathematics, but an educational learning experience that sort of bends that arc towards social justice and that really helps her find the joy, I think, of learning mathematics. That would be so awesome. But you know what would be even more awesomer?
What?
Well, just maybe she'll be a third-generation math teacher. How cool would that be? All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Welcome, happy birthday. Let's see us out.
Happy birthday.
All right, we have one more round. Go ahead and grab one last drink if you want. And we hopefully have saved the funniest for last. All right, see you in about